In Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, the inciting incident is a murder on the Senate floor, but the story's irony lies in how this specific act of violence, meant to preserve the state, becomes the trigger for its total collapse. Written around 1599, the play dramatizes the infamous conspiracy against Julius Caesar and the brutal civil war that erupts in its wake. While the title points to Caesar, the emotional focus of the drama belongs to Marcus Brutus. Thoughtful tone. Brutus is caught between his personal loyalty to a friend and a perceived duty to his nation. This internal tension creates a vulnerability that eventually dooms the very city he aims to protect. The play opens as Rome celebrates Caesar's military victory over the sons of his rival, Pompey. On the surface, the city is united in its praise for a returning hero. Yet among the Roman Senate, this popularity looks like a threat. They worry that Caesar's influence will lead him to dismantle the Republic's system of shared power and declare himself a king. This anxiety drives Cassius, a senator who views Caesar's rise with deep suspicion. Cassius knows he lacks the personal standing to lead a revolt, so he seeks a highly respected figure to give the conspiracy legitimacy. He targets Brutus using a calculated psychological tactic, planting forged letters from citizens, begging Brutus to save them from Caesar's ambition. Through the weaponization of manufactured public fear, Cassius manages to corrupt Rome's most honorable defender, turning Brutus into the primary architect of the Republic's downfall. To justify the plot, Brutus relies on a specific moral logic. On one side are Caesar's actual deeds, which are not yet tyrannical. On the other are the crimes he might commit. Brutus chooses to act on the threat. Caesar makes this choice easier through his arrogance, ignoring a warning to beware the Ides of March and dismissing his wife's dreams. On that day, Caesar enters the Senate chamber. The conspirators move in, surrounding him under the guise of official business. They strike repeatedly, but the emotional climax occurs when Caesar sees Brutus among the attackers. Realizing his friend is part of the plot, he stops resisting, utters, "Et tu, Brute," and falls. The conspirators believe that by killing Caesar, they have restored the law. In reality, they have shattered the legal and moral foundation of the Roman state. In the immediate aftermath, Brutus manages to pacify the Roman crowd. He explains that Caesar was killed for the good of Rome, convincing the people that the murder was an honorable necessity. Everything changes when Mark Antony steps forward. He begins his funeral oration by seemingly agreeing with the conspirators' justifications. Antony uses a masterful rhetorical trick. He repeatedly calls Brutus an honorable man, but with each repetition, his tone shifts until the word becomes a stinging insult. He then reveals Caesar's will, showing that the supposed tyrant had actually left his private gardens and money to the citizens of Rome. The crowd turns instantly, erupting into a violent riot that sparks a civil war and forces Brutus and Cassius to flee the city. Antony's success demonstrates the play's most unsettling theme, that in politics, the power of persuasion is more dangerous than any weapon. In its final acts, the story shifts from a political conspiracy to a study of psychological collapse. Brutus is haunted by the ghost of Caesar in his military tent. This isn't just a supernatural moment, it's a reminder that the guilt of his betrayal remains even as his cause fails. As the final battle approaches, the alliance between Brutus and Cassius begins to fracture. The pressure of the war reveals that their unity was as fragile as the republic they tried to save. This internal conflict leads to disaster at the Battle of Philippi, where their forces are decisively beaten by Mark Antony and Caesar's heir, Octavius. The disintegration of the conspirators' partnership serves as a mirror for the state of Rome itself, proving that a movement built on betrayal cannot provide a stable foundation for a nation. Facing total defeat and capture, both Cassius and Brutus take their own lives. Their deaths mark the end of the resistance against the new leadership. Standing over Brutus's body, Mark Antony calls him the noblest Roman of them all. He recognizes that while the others acted out of envy, Brutus was the only one who truly believed his actions were for the good of Rome. Brutus sacrificed his reputation and his life to keep Rome from falling to a single ruler. In the end, his actions created the vacuum that allowed the Republic to be replaced by an empire anyway. Shakespeare leaves us with a question that still resonates today. Can a noble outcome ever justify a terrible act? And does our fear of what might happen eventually create the very future we were trying to prevent?